Hello, I'm Brian Nelson, and I just want to say that I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about my story to you in East Beverly Hills, and I think that's just an awesome place, and look forward to hearing how God is going to continue to work in your lives, and I want you now to hear a little bit about how He's working in my life. Hello, East Hollywood Community Church. I'm Brian Nelson, and I thought I'd share a little bit about my story for you. I grew up here in the small town of Vancouver, British Columbia, and I guess I was about a year old when my mom and dad divorced, and then when I was about 10 years old, I received a letter from a gentleman down in the United States who said he was my dad, and so I asked my mother if this was true, and my mom said that that was the case, and so she said, you know, you're old enough, if you want, you can meet him. And so I told my mom I was, interested in meeting him. And so anyways, she arranged for the meeting, and he came up from the US. And during our first meeting, he told me that his life had changed. And so anyways, my dad explained to me from the Bible that he said, it didn't matter how good I was. And I thought I was a pretty good kid and already going to heaven. But he said that, in fact, all of us have sinned and fallen short of God's righteousness, and that the only way to have a relationship with God was through His Son, Jesus Christ. So I decided then that I would accept Jesus. I believed in His death and His resurrection and ascension, and knowing He's going to come back again someday. My mom got me involved in a local church along with my brothers, and attended that. Went through some challenging times as a youth and young adult, but after those times, I ended up meeting a really godly woman who encouraged me in my walk with God. We got married, and I ended up not only completing my university, but also attended Bible school through the encouragement of her and others. And after Bible school, I thought, I'm going to start working in a church, but that wasn't the case. I spent about a decade in working with street youth and also in the education system, and then an opportunity came to work at a Chinese church in Surrey, close here by Vancouver, and it was a really good experience. I learned a lot being an assistant pastor, but then in 2007 my wife got diagnosed with colon cancer, and it was going to be quite a challenging time, so I stepped down from the full-time assignment and volunteered along with my family. I had 2 daughters by this time, and around 2010, after her already having 2 cancer surgeries, it was getting too much, the commute, so we found a church closer to our community, closer to home, and along with the family, of course. And then in 2017, my wife she had been diagnosed with bone cancer, and she ended up passing away and entering into the presence of God, and that really impacted myself and my daughters. And so just trusting God that He was going to lead us through that difficult time, which He did. And I ended up having an opportunity to apply for a church down in California in Silicon Valley, and by the grace of God, I was accepted down there and served as director of student ministries for a time. But it was also during that time too that I felt, God calling me to work with Spanish-speaking people. I had made several trips to Guatemala and Chile, and I informed the leadership and the church family, and they were supportive of this process. And it was on the return trip to Canada when I was trying to take care of my affairs up here, and still my daughters had been grieving, so I wanted to spend some time with them, that I met Giselle, my future wife-to-be, a fully devoted follower of Jesus, and ended up getting married, and to right now just try and devote ourselves to whatever God would call us to. And in fact, I'll introduce you to my wife here, Giselle.
Hi.
And we'll be praying for you as a church, and hopefully you will be able to discern whoever it is that God has called for this position of urban evangelism and being a disciple maker. God bless.